Hello everybody, welcome back to Fanblade. Well, things got a bit weird last night, didn't they? Um, I came back in about 20 minutes after I finished filming that little piece at the end there, and yes, they were completely set. Hard, solid finish. Um, I checked the packaging, and sure enough, it says it right there. New formula, fastest and strongest in the world. But the problem with it being fast is that it generates heat, and also gives you no time to actually let the finish soak into the wood. Now, generating heat is a problem with superglue. Luckily, this stuff didn't get very hot. I have had it before when it did get very hot very fast, and your options at that point is to whip your glove off immediately. So you always wear gloves when you're doing this, because if that's on your hands and it's burning, you're going to need to go to the hospital, and nobody needs that at this point, or ever actually. On the whole, they're not actually too bad. It's filled up the grain pretty much in one hit. There are a few rough spots though. There's a bit there, and there's another bit all the way along there. That's going to need to be probably taken out with the radius sanding block, because I'm not sure if I can take off that much material by hand and still keep it even. The worst offender is the short scale base. That's I can't. We can't have that on the final instrument. But luckily, this is not the final finish. We've got plenty of room to move. This was only ever to protect the surface of the fingerboard while we carve out the back of the neck. I will be using the Crimson Guitars method of carving a neck, which is to take a curved rasp and file the curve in at each end, and then you simply join them up. And for that I use a spoke shave to take off the bulk of the material, and then a Shinto rasp to fine things out on the rough side, and then refine them even more with the fine side. It's not hard work. It is delicate though, because you've got to be a little bit careful. You also have to be very mindful of the direction that the grain is travelling in, and all of these necks are different. There's different woods, there's different grain patterns, and there's different... they're different. One size does not fit all here. Probably the hardest one is going to be this one here, because it's a flame, so it's very curly. So the spoke shave is going to struggle on this one. Also, I'm a little bit concerned about ash. My experience with ash would suggest that when we hit the scarf joint up here, the grain's going to be going in the opposite direction, and we could get tear out and all sorts of problems with the spoke shave there. Aside from that, I think we're good. It should be pretty straightforward. People may have noticed this neck's got a bit of a taper going that way, whereas all the rest of them are pretty straight. That is because this neck was made before I purchased a table saw, so I wasn't able to square the stock up. So what I'm going to do with this one is just quickly take a slice off it. I'll actually measure it out to the final depth and sort of get not dangerously close, but reasonably close to the actual final thickness that I want. But before I do any of that, I've got to actually line them up on their bodies and work out when to stop. How much neck is going in the pocket, mark all that out, and then we can just start to get to shaving up some carvings, or words to that effect. Part of the trick with this is don't take off too much too soon. This is a very sharp rasp. This is a very harsh tool. Don't go too deep too quickly, because you're going to have to sand all of these marks out. So we're just roughing it in and we'll refine it later, but don't go too deep. This sort of thing is fine if you're just doing one guitar at a time, but when you're doing a batch of them, sometimes you want to be able to do things quicker and more safely and do a better job, and that requires thinking differently. So this is one of the things I'm learning from doing a big batch of guitars in one go, is that there are certain things that I need to make, and this is one of them. Yeah, I'm just going to get a bit of wood across the top of here and 2 screws just to clamp them down, and then wrap a towel around the inside of it so it protects it and I can get it nice and tight, and that should work. What about a short scale guitar? Nope, so that won't work on a short scale guitar because of course that needs to be sticking out so that I can get around on both sides of it. Wait, what have I learned so far already? Dogs. Bench dogs. Okay. Drill a hole in my bench. Drill a couple of holes in my bench. They need to be adjustable though. Well, it certainly isn't the prettiest thing in the world, but it's a heck of a lot better than what I had, and it's very nicely stable. That's not going anywhere. Neck should be nicely protected, and of course it's adjustable. The lucky thing about finding this piece of machinery here is that because it pivots, it can accommodate any taper. So if this one's fixed and the neck is up against a thing like that, and say it's got a massive taper on it like that, then this thing can swivel out that way and just clamp right onto it. So adjustable, it's pinned down to the bench, and then one more clamp on the front there, and that's like so much better than it was. So yes, learning things, doing jobs that I have been meaning to do for some time. This is good. Let's carve necks. Now, tucked away just down here by the scrap wood bin and the rubbish bin is this little vise here. This is my neck carving vise, mounted at an angle that's specific to my height. As the neck goes in, like that, this is very soft wood, by the way, so I'm not worried about marking up that, and that's also why we protect the fretboard there. But that can just grab that, and I can sight straight down the neck, and I can just grab my spoke shave, and I can just carve bits off. So, this is actually not looking too bad. That's just straight off the spoke shave. If you were really, really desperate, you could probably just play that as it is. If you needed a fretless bass in 20 minutes, I can have this thing strung up. Obviously needs a lot more work finishing up here. I need to take a little bit off the where I glued the edges onto the headstock there. I need to just plane them off. But it's looking good for a roughly carved neck. We're on the right track. It's got a wee dip just in this side here. I think there's some soft grain or something's going on, and it's just got a wee scoop out of it there. But I think we will move on to the Shinto rasp for the rest of this, because we're getting a little bit close to the final shape to be attacking it with a spoke shave. Right. That's the alarm that tells me it's time to stop filming and start editing, otherwise you won't get to see this. So we will call that a video, and tomorrow we will carve out the rest of these and refine them, probably do the headstocks, and hopefully by the end of tomorrow we'll have 4 very nicely shaped necks. Yeah, so thank you for watching. Hit subscribe, hit like, get the bell on, all that jazz, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.